What up, folks? Once again, it's your boy Tim with another ride sharing video. Forgive the messy vehicle. I'm actually at my day job right now. Why am I such a negative Nancy? Why do I get on YouTube and constantly talk shit about ride sharing, whether you're in Uber or Lyft? Why am I such a negative Nancy? Why can't I get on here and come to you with some positive information? That's what I get in the comment section. I get criticized all the time. Why the hell do you complain so much? If you don't like the shit you're doing, go get another damn job and shut the hell up. I've gotten that in the comment section. So today I want to come and holler at the folks. And the reason why, being a veteran driver, I make it clear I've been driving off and on for Uber and Lyft since 2014, in between jobs, things like that. Why am I so negative? In reality, the goal is not to be negative. The goal is to discuss what goes on, what is relevant to the lifestyles of rideshare drivers. The problem is there's not a lot positive to report. So it's not that I'm trying to be negative to you folks. It's that when I tell you what's going on in the ride sharing world, most of it is not very favorable to drivers. And if you talk to other veteran drivers that have been driving for even a year or longer, ask them different things about ride sharing. Ask them to explain what's going on in their world, whether they're driving for Uber and Lyft. And you'll notice there is a lot of similar negativity coming from other drivers. There are plenty of folks on YouTube that have channels, whether it's the Uberman guy who used to have a channel, years ago, or even in modern times like the Rideshare Professor. A lot of these folks started out with channels that were very favorable to driving and ride sharing, giving you tips and strategies on how to maximize your profits, ways to drive, better times to drive, cars to drive, things you should have in the vehicle when you're engaging in ride sharing. And if you look at any single content provider on YouTube discussing ride sharing, you'll notice that over time, their discussions and topics involving ride sharing tends to become more and more negative. Why is that? It's because we work and operate in an evolving profession. And most of the evolution is being implemented by Uber or Lyft. And unfortunately, most of the evolution, if you are a driver, is not in your best interest. Recent times, how many of you folks favor Uber Pool? How many of you think that Uber Pool was a good change for drivers? How many of you like the new upfront pricing? Look at the comment section. Look at the content on this stuff. I want my veteran drivers, for folks who believe that I'm a negative Nancy, and that's fair, I want my veteran drivers in the comments. List some of the positives that you believe are involved in ride sharing. Now, I've told you before, I don't advise you drive unless there are things such as heavy surge pricing, streak bonuses. I really like streak bonuses. Earnings guarantees can be great. Those are positives of operating in ride sharing. However, all of that shit's temporary. So you're not going to make a bunch of videos about streak bonuses, because anybody that's doing this knows that a streak bonus can disappear at any given time. Same thing with earnings guarantees. There are markets out there. When was the last time you saw a really good earnings guarantee, let's say you drive for Lyft, in your market? Now, I understand if you live in some of the bigger cities like Chicago, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, you guys get to enjoy a hell of a lot of surge pricing. But there's a lot of smaller markets, like I mentioned, Columbia, Missouri, or, Jacksonville, Florida, or Jackson, Mississippi. They're not seeing surge pricing at all. None. I mean, whereas it may be only on the holidays or after some big event, but it may be only a handful of times per month or even per year. So it's not like I'm trying to be negative, just giving you incidents that's taking place. For instance, in Baltimore, from November 22nd to Christmas Day, 39 carjackings of rideshare drivers. How the hell am I supposed to report that from a positive standpoint? And then it gets worse when one woman in that city decides to carry a stun gun, has a passenger report her to Lyft, and they fire her. How am I supposed to make that shit sound positive? Where you're in a very dangerous, high crime environment, you decide to carry some type of weapon to defend yourself, and the company responds by firing you for doing so. Tell me, how am I supposed to make that sound positive? So it's not being a negative Nancy. I'm just telling you what the hell is going on. And by the way, don't take my advice for it. Look at any Uber or Lyft page on Facebook or on social media, or even the app. When you go to the Google or Apple store to download the app, you know, when you download apps, they allow you to rate the app. There's often a bunch of comments in regards to people rating the app. Literally anything that Uber or Lyft has where they leave the comment section open, all of the comments are negative. Even just to download the damn app, it's loaded with negative comments about Uber and Lyft. It's not me being negative, folks. This is what drivers out here are engaging in. Like I said, in the comment section, my veteran drivers, if you've been driving for a year or longer, give me your list of negatives that you would give someone as advice that was trying to get into ride sharing versus the list of positives. In the comments, list the pros and cons of driving in ride sharing. And let me see if I want folks to read the comments. New drivers watch this shit all the time. We can help out other folks. Let's see how many folks have lists where the pros outweigh the cons. So why the hell don't you just get another job if you don't like this shit? Well, I say it in every video. I only drive part-time in between jobs, which makes it clear that the only time I'm driving is when I don't have a day job. In between jobs, meaning that income has gotten low enough where I may find myself needing to make money from a desperate situation, and I'm willing to try ride sharing for a quick period of time. But clearly I'm trying to get out of ride sharing and do something else, which is also why I always stress in every video, only do ride sharing when you're getting some type of streak, promotion, or earnings guarantee. Do not drive for base fares. Base fares are fucking ridiculous. The IRS, someone let me know, I'm not a tax professional, obviously, but I believe the IRS, when you claim on your taxes, you can claim up to, 53, 56 cents per mile or something like that. Most Uber markets pay well under $1 per mile. There are markets that pay in the 60s. In fact, I believe there's a market, I think Orlando or somewhere like that pays like 62, 63 cents a mile. So if the IRS, based on their calculations, believe that if you are using your own vehicle, you are incurring expenses up to 53 cents per mile. For every mile you drive, it costs you at least 53 cents in expenses, fuel, oil, whatever, car depreciation. If the IRS believes that, that means if you're only getting paid, let's say 70 cents per mile in your market, and a lot of Uber and Lyft markets pay less than that, but let's say you're making 70 cents per mile, and the IRS is giving you a 53 cents deduction, that means even according to the IRS, you're only earning 17 cents per mile in profit. That shows that even to the IRS, your ass ain't making shit. And you know the IRS wants to tax you. They don't want to tell you you're not making much. They want to paint a picture like you're making a lot so they can tax you more. So if you're not making shit to the IRS, that should tell you everything you need to know. But it's more. How many folks have been deactivated from the app for bullshit, things they didn't even do? Like I mentioned, the stun gun girl, or somebody just making up a bullshit claim on you. Have it happen to you? Drop it in the comments. That's more just simply me reporting what takes place. It's not being negative. It's just telling you what's going on. Same thing with the carjackings I mentioned, the terrible customer service. Have you ever had an issue where somebody maybe defecated in your vehicle, maybe tried to get too frisky with you, maybe threaten you, and you tried to reach out to the customer service of Uber and Lyft? How many drivers out here are reporting all over social media, reporting all over news media, that when they reached out to Uber or Lyft, they got a lackluster response or was just told some outright bullshit? I showed you news clips. Every news clip I show seems to feature a driver saying that When I talked to Uber or Lyft, they made a promise and I haven't heard from them, or they didn't do shit, or I have not been able to get in contact with them. That's not being negative. That's just telling you what's going on. There is no way to describe what happens in this business. Just simply being honest, telling you what happens day to day without the shit sounding negative. When you got the CEO of Uber, Dara Khosrowshahi or whatever, being asked, how much do Uber drivers earn on average? And he responds with, they earn $39 per utilized hour. Who the hell talks about their earnings in utilization? I don't care if you are a bus driver or you flip burgers for a living. Nobody talks in utilize. If I'm on the road for 8 damn hours, how much am I earning? I don't want to hear about utilized hour, because every driver knows that if you're in rideshare and you're not averaging $39 an hour. But that's a real story. He said that in a real interview, and simply reporting it does not sound positive. The positives in this business are just not there. It's not being a negative, Nancy. When New Year's came along, I did a video and told folks, this is the day, where you could make some serious money, because a lot of folks are drunk. They're willing to tip. There's unlimited rides generally on New Year's. That was a positive video. But unfortunately, like I said, there's not a lot of positives to report if you're engaging in rideshare from day to day. And I'm not going to come on here and tell you about some $3,000-$4,000 week in which I earned or some other driver earned, because that's exceptionally rare. And even when there are channels where folks will get on here and tell you they're making 6 figures and shit like that, look at their comment section. It's loaded with drivers telling them, this is bullshit. We know you're lying, which I've often asked. I wonder, does Uber or Lyft have PR folks, damn near media bots that get online and try to pump up the benefit of engaging in rideshare to make it sound better to get new drivers? I've showed you articles where when Uber came out, they were telling drivers that the average Uber driver was earning $90,000 a year. They in turn had to end up paying the Federal Trade Commission, I believe it was $20 million, because they were essentially caught lying about drivers' earnings, just inflating the numbers. I think that the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, found that well under 10% of the drivers were earning anywhere near what they claimed was average. There's no positive way to report that shit. It's a lie. So the fuel surcharge, what about that? We all know in the last few years, the fuel prices have skyrocketed. I talk about it on my political videos. People blame President Biden for what the hell ever. But no doubt about it, fuel costs a hell of a lot more now than it did 2 or 3 years ago. Both Uber and Lyft instituted a fuel surcharge, 50 cents per trip or something like that. Useless. It's a slap in the face. When you look at how much the fuel increased, double, damn near triple in some places, like out in the LA area where people are paying $6 a gallon and crazy amounts like that, 50 extra cents per trip is not even noticeable. It doesn't even put a dent in the damage from the huge fuel prices. And the fuel has not bounced back to where it used to be, and they've already started removing the fuel surcharge. I believe both Uber and Lyft has either gotten rid of it or they're making it clear they're about to. Whatever you see. How much did fuel increase in your market? How beneficial was that 50 cents, 55 cents? I believe one of them gave you like 45 cents. How beneficial was that shit to you? How did you feel when you were paying $3, $4 a gallon more than normal and Uber came and said, well, we'll give you an extra 50 cents per trip? How did that feel to you when you're already getting underpaid? There's no way to report that and make that shit sound good. It's a fact. It happened. The surcharge was added, but there's no way to tell a veteran driver or even a new driver, due to the $3 a gallon increase in fuel, we're going to give you 50 cents per trip. The money is useless. The money is damn near not even noticeable. And the outcry all over social media was apparent. People were insulting it. So it's not being a negative Nancy, like I stated. It's just simply telling you what's going on. What about the tips? There are no shortage of drivers that believe Uber and Lyft steals tips. Are all of these passengers that are telling you, don't worry, I'll hook you up with something in the app, do you believe they're all lying? Or do you believe some of them are actually tipping you and it just simply is not finding its way into your earnings, into your pocket? Have you ever talked to a passenger, maybe on a second go round, maybe you encountered them a second time, and they gave you the indication, did you enjoy that tip I gave you last time? And you like, what tip? Have you ever had a scenario where you believe you were truly robbed by Uber or Lyft? Let us know in the comments. I would love to see that. I do have my email address because I would do a future video on that. I strongly believe that the ride-sharing companies, even though they're already taking 50 to 80% of the fares anyway, I believe they are actually going above and beyond that and robbing drivers in other areas. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know. There's a hell of a lot of veteran drivers out here. Drop your experience in the comments, and perhaps we'll even talk about that shit on another video. But once again, I'm asking for these comments because, as always, there are newer drivers that are either just getting into this, thinking it's a good way to earn some side money, or there are folks who are considering it. And your comments could help new and prospective drivers make a better decision on whether this is the shit they want to get into. It's not all terrible. Like I said, between jobs and things like that, I certainly believe the term side hustle is probably the best explanation for what we do, but I would add one word to it: temporary side hustle. I don't believe in most markets, at least in America, probably around the world, but in most markets in this country, I do not believe Uber or Lyft is a good source of long-term income. Generally, this is the point where folks who are operating in really big markets step up and say, well, I'm making plenty of money. Yeah, everybody don't live in Los Angeles, though. Everybody don't live in Philadelphia where you can readily get a 5-time surge all throughout the week. There are markets where this pays better. I'm not going to deny that, but there are a host of markets in this country where it's just not worth it. But I will end the video here. I want to see what your comments are. As always, subscribe to the damn channel. You know what we say here. Appreciate the fact that you are tuning in. You could be anywhere you want to be on YouTube. In fact, you're rolling with your boys all good. But I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy. The purpose of these videos is just to tell you what the hell is going on. Unfortunately, because most of it is negative, that is what my profile appears to be. Catch you in the next video.